Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to The Last Lap. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a lot of silly season news, especially around college racing and some other things going on as well. But before we hop into it, just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it if you did that. And you can also check out our social media pages, which are linked in the description. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the episode. As always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew joining me on the show. And we have a lot of silly season news to break down before we hop into talking about the Roval. So, Matthew, how you doing before we go ahead and hop into things?
Well, to be honest, I'm really exhausted right now because I just finished an iRacing race at the Charlotte Roval with the Xfinity cars. And one thing I've learned is that stock cars on road courses are very hard to drive, especially if you could compare it to a sports car or a prototype car or open wheel car. Stock cars on road courses are hard to drive. And they're hard to keep your tires on the car because they wear out fast because they slide everywhere. So that's one thing I've learned, especially after the race I did tonight. So yeah, I cannot wait for the racing this weekend. But it's gonna be hard on the drivers, especially since it was very hard driving on iRacing for me. So this will be an interesting weekend.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the few road courses that we're going to have to do in our league race, all that stuff. We have like 3 road courses to do, and that's not going to be fun in the trucks. But we'll get through it, hopefully. But we're going to talk some silly season news real quick. So it was confirmed that AJ Allmendinger will be going cup racing once again. It will be with Colleague Racing. This announcement was made today, actually. And his replacement in the Xfinity Series will be Chandler Smith. So great opportunity for him to jump up to the Xfinity Series. I'm not really sure how good Colleague is going to do in Xfinity next year because besides AJ Allmendinger, Landon Castle, and oh my gosh, who's the other driver? I'm blanking.
Landon Castle, Daniel Hamrick.
Daniel Henry, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Besides AJ Allmendinger, those drivers, everybody else has not really performed that well, so I'm wondering if Chandler Smith coming up to Xfinity in that program will help them do any better. But AJ Allmendinger, this is a great opportunity for him to go cup racing. I think he could be into the playoffs next year. There's so many road courses on the schedule, some super speedways in there as well, that he could definitely have a chance at winning and punching his ticket to the playoffs. I'm excited to see how well he does. I'm excited to see him back in the Cup Series. But this also leaves a giant hole in the Toyota/TRD/JGR program in Xfinity because with Kyle Busch Motorsports going to Chevy, Chandler Smith going to Colleague Racing,
Brandon Jones
now we have
Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, Brandon Jones is leaving. He's going to Junior Motorsports. So this leaves a little bit of hole in their Xfinity program. We're assuming Ty Gibbs is probably going to move to Cup, so that leaves 2 full-time spots open. In my opinion, I would think John Hunter Nemechek would probably be one of those options, and maybe Sammy Smith or Corey Heim or something like that for the other option. I'm not 100% sure, but that is one piece that does still need to be solved. And speaking of the Xfinity Series, Haley Deegan, she'll be making her Xfinity debut in the number 07 car, the one that's pretty much funded by Stewart-Haas Racing, but it's owned by a different team. So, I think it's good for her to at least to get a start in Xfinity. I don't know if she's ready for a full-time Xfinity season just yet. I have more wins than her on iRacing in the Truck Series than she does in real life in the Truck Series. I know that's not saying anything, but hey, it's nice to have a truck win somehow, whether it's iRacing, real life, whatever. Same thing, right? Same thing. But I don't know, maybe I feel like if she does get an opportunity in Xfinity, I don't think it would be a bad thing because the Truck Series does get pretty wild and crazy. It's a bunch of young people going at it. All that, a bunch of wrecks. Nobody really drives with respect in the Truck Series, apparently, after this year and everything. So maybe Xfinity would be a good chance for her to get her feet wet again. I don't know, but No, she doesn't have any 2023 plans. And also, David Gilliland Racing, the truck team she races for, is rumored to be switching to Toyota, and she is obviously a Ford driver, so her and Ryan Preece might need to find new rides somewhere, whether it's in the Truck Series or Xfinity or something, since they're both Ford contract drivers. And the final thing we need to talk about is Kevin Harvick. He was hit with the L2 penalty, the third Ford driver to be hit with that penalty this year. Brad Keselowski and Michael McDowell were the two other drivers to get hit with this penalty, and they modified something to the car that obviously they shouldn't, because all the parts come from one place, and if you modify them or touch them at all, then NASCAR hits you on the wrist with this level 2 penalty. So the crew chief, Rodney Childers, was fined $100,000, suspended for 4 races, and the car and owner points, 100-point penalty each. And apparently the rumor is that they modified the rear deck lid. That's the part in question here. So I'm interested to see how that plays out moving forward. But yeah, all 3 drivers that have been hit with this penalty have been Fords. So I don't know if they're just trying to do things the other manufacturers aren't, and they're getting busted for them. I'm not sure, but it's kind of a coincidence that all 3 penalties have been for Ford drivers. So yeah, that's the news that's come out this week, some silly season stuff, and another major one of these penalties. So Matthew, what do you got to say about the silly season stuff and this penalty before we hop into talking about the Charlotte Roval this weekend?
All right, so going into the AG Allmendinger, going to the Cup Series news. To be honest, I am a little bit surprised by this move because I feel like since he's been in the Xfinity Series, he's been more happier, I would say, in the Xfinity Series because I feel like he's had a way better shot of contending for wins and championships than he ever did in the Cup Series. But it is good to see him back in the Cup Series. I feel like this next-gen car, and with the fact that we have 6 road courses compared to the 2 or 3 back a few years ago, I feel like AG Allmendinger actually has a really good shot at making the playoffs next year. I mean, it's all going to depend on A, if he wins over on the road courses, or maybe more, and B, how many winners are going to be next year if he points his way in. We don't know if we'll have 19 winners again next year or not, but yeah, it's great to see AG Allmendinger back. And this year in this part-time schedule, he hasn't just run good on the road courses. I mean, he's also finished top 10 at Gateway and Bristol this year, so I think he's able to run top 10 at the non-road courses, super speedways. It's just I just don't know how consistent he'll be, and that team. I don't know how consistent that team will be. But Colin Racing had just got a little bit better. It's a great start with Justin Haley, but I feel like with AG Allmendinger, they're taking that program a step up, basically. So I'm looking forward to see how he does next year. Full time again for the first time since 2018. And then as for the other calling news, Chandler Smith, current KBM driver, he's going to move up to the Xfinity Series, but not Joe Gibbs Racing. It's going to be calling racing in the 16 car, which I'm actually really surprised by this. I thought Chandler Smith was a Toyota driver. And here's the thing, I get so confused with these contracts for the lower series. Like, there's some drivers that are signed by a manufacturer, some are signed by a team. I don't know who's signed by who. So again, I thought Chandler Smith was signed by Toyota, so I thought he will have to go to Joe Gibbs Racing, but apparently not. He's in the Chevy banner, and I think a lot does have to do with his boss right now, Kyle Busch, moving to RCR. I feel like he was in the KBM garage when all this contract stuff was going down. He was basically hearing everything that was going on. And I'm sure how the whole Kyle Busch JGR breakup went down. I'm sure Chandler Smith was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable about being with this organization in a few years, because they might do the same thing just did to my boss there. So I mean, I don't know. Apparently, Toyota actually did offer him a Xfinity contract. They didn't say specifically it was Joe Gibbs or Sam Hunt. I hope not. If they offer him the 26 car, then there's definitely something wrong with Toyota there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Chandler Smith does in his first full-time season in the Xfinity Series next year. And Toyota, yeah, they're not. It's not going well for them right now. Let's just say that you lose the best driver to ever run in your banner, Kyle Busch. Then you lose a driver that, yeah, he's probably not the best driver, but he's going to get your car to the playoffs and win here and there, and brings a lot of fun. Named Brendan Jones. They just lost him. And then they just lost a young talent, a future prospect that, depending on how things go, he could be, a really good Cup Series driver in the future. And they just lost him. And a couple of years from now, they're going to have Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin retiring in the next few years. And they're going to need somebody to fill those seats. And the only ones that are likely right now is basically John Hunter Nemechek and Sammy Smith, which I don't see him in a Cup Series ride anytime soon. He's still very young, so he needs to take the time. But yeah, Toyota's in deep trouble right now. If they keep losing these drivers and future prospects here, which is not good for them. And Chevrolet just keeps on getting better and better. I mean, yeah, they've always had Hendrick Motorsports, but now Trackhouse has gotten better. RCR just got better with Kyle Busch. Kaulig Racing's getting better. So Chevrolet's really getting their they're on a roll right now. Let's just say that, especially during the free agency. Okay, now Hailie Deegan making her Xfinity Series debut at Las Vegas. A couple races away. Well, look, here's the thing with Hailie Deegan. I get, she has a big social media following. She's really popular, and in ARCA in the K&N series, she showed a lot of promise, but ever since she's gotten the Truck Series, she has been an absolute disappointment. I mean, she only had one top 10 her rookie year, and everyone's like, you know what? I'm sure her sophomore year would go better. It has gone worse, actually. Yeah, she has 2 or 3 top 10s, like 2 more than last year, but her average finish is worse. She's she's gotten a lot more situations of wrecks, basically. Some not her fault, and some on her doing. But she's just not ready for an Xfinity Series, right? Especially full time. I hope she does well at her Xfinity debut. Maybe she will. Maybe the Xfinity cars will suit to her liking. If you can remember, Harrison Burton in a KBM truck did not win any races in a KBM truck. But when he got the Xfinity car, Joe Gibbs, he won 4 races his rookie year. So, I'm not going to say she's going to do just as bad or worse in the Xfinity car, but, I just don't see a lot right now to say that she's ready for a full-time Xfinity ride. But, I hope she does well, and I know it's going to be really popular on YouTube channel, her making her first Xfinity start. So, yeah. And also the Kevin Harvick penalty. I've seen a lot of conspiracies out there, conspiracy theorists, saying, NASCAR penalized him because he's one of the most vocal people criticizing the car. I don't see that as the reason why. Look. They also selected Martin Truex Jr. as part of that R&D Center, which he's also been critical of the car just as much as Harvick and Hamlin, and he passed his fine. So I'm not gonna go into that rumor, but it's not the first time we've seen the 4 car, not past inspection. 2018 Las Vegas, or was it 2017? I don't remember. But he won Las Vegas, and next you know, people noticed that the rear windshield was something that was not right with it, giving him an advantage. Um, so that's not the first time. But yeah, I mean they're out of the playoffs, so all is really gonna hurt is like the owners' points for next season, basically. So I mean, sucks for them, but can't modify the parts. I mean, they've seen two other incidents, two other penalties. You would think people will learn their lesson, but people still try to get those boundaries right there. So, yeah, that's all the news, and that's all my opinions right there.
Alright, so I want to close this video talking about something cool and positive that's going on in NASCAR, and then I also want to close with talking about, obviously, the playoffs this weekend at the Roval. So one of the owners of Charlotte Motor Speedway, Marcus Smith, is doing something really cool. This all started on Twitter when Brad Keselowski was asked by a fan on Twitter why RFK didn't have their own merch hauler. So Brad Keselowski responded. He was like, the prices of putting a hauler are so expensive and all that kind of stuff. And Marcus Smith replied to Brad and said, hey, if you want to do this as soon as possible, how about this weekend at the Roval? So Marcus Smith said, you can bring your hauler to the track, you can park it for free on the property if you do an autograph session. And Brad's like, all right, sweet. I'll get my team on it and we'll get a hauler out there and I'll do an autograph session. And he tagged a bunch of other Ford drivers like Chase Briscoe, Kevin Harvick, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, so on and so forth. And Chase Briscoe, I don't know if anybody else has responded, but Chase Briscoe said that he's in as well, he'll do it and everything. So this is what NASCAR needs for the fans. NASCAR needs to have the drivers more accessible to the fans. Because, at the racetrack, there'll be a few drivers that will do like a Q&A thing, and that's about it. So I'm really glad that Marcus Smith is doing this. Another W for him this year. For the past few years, you're kind of hating on him and everything, but this is great. I love that he's doing this, and hopefully this is a spark for more things to come where the fans can have more access to the drivers and all of that stuff. So I just want to say that real quick, and we're going to look at the playoff grid one more time. As we mentioned in our last video, Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric both tied going into the final race. Daniel Suarez is plus 12, William Byron minus 11, pending that appeal. But yeah, I personally think that Austin Cindric will go in, Chase Briscoe will go out, and then everybody else will pretty much stay where they're at. Byron probably go out, Bell as well, and Bowman, who is out again this week, unfortunately, due to concussion protocol. So those are my quick predictions. As for drivers to watch for the race this weekend, you have to always throw your road course ringers in there. But I will be watching Austin Cindric. I hope he does well, and maybe he can punch his ticket to the round of 8. So that's what I quickly have to say about the playoffs. So, Matthew, why don't you go ahead and wrap it up by saying what you think about what's going to happen this weekend at the Roval?
Well, I'm going to give my prediction who's going to get eliminated for this round. Of course, it's all going to depend on, if someone has an issue during a race, which I can't predict that part. So I'm just going to predict what I think that's what's going to happen. Of course, Alex Bowman is out, unfortunately, because of a concussion. I mean, hopefully he's getting better, but unfortunately he's going to be automatically the first guy out. And then William Byron, I'm going to say he's out, which I hate to say that because he's been doing so well since the start of the playoffs. But, I mean, him acting, just having a temper tantrum during the race cost him points. So he's in that hole now because of that. And he didn't gain a lot from Talladega. So I don't think he's in a must-win. I don't know. But, yeah, it's going to be real tight, and unfortunately, I've got him out. And unfortunately, also got Christopher Bell out because, I mean, he was like the best car of the playoffs, basically the first round, and then next you know, the second round's been spin, hit the wall, blown tire, spinning on pit road. And he is really good on road courses, of course, but I don't know. I just don't see it happening. So I got Christopher Bell out. And then who gets that final spot eliminated? Well, I'm going to say it's Chase Briscoe. He's been exceeding my expectations this playoffs, but unfortunately, I think it all comes to an end, and I think Austin Cindric actually advances, unless something happens, of course, but we'll never know. So, I got Chase Briscoe as the first guy out.
Yeah, the Roval can be super unpredictable. We saw what happened last year, with the whole Chase Elliott and Kevin Harvick thing. Unfortunately, that had to happen. Kyle Larson, they had to fix something on pit road, and they went all the way at the back of the field, came all the way front and won the race. So anything can happen this weekend at the Roval. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts about all the silly season news and about who you think's going to make it to the round of 8. So make sure you guys stay tuned to our social media pages for updates. But until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.